Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, time for the weekly comic book review here on Pop Culture Philosophers. Thanks for checking out the video. This is the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them. We always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Strayed, #1 from Dark Horse Comic Books. This book was awesome. It blew me away. It's got illustrations by Wando. He recently just completed Dark Arc with Cullen Bunn. I love his artwork. I love his coloring. Love his composition. Love his layouts. From the very first page to the last one, this book hooked me in artistically, story-wise, and character-wise. I absolutely loved this comic book. It's written by Carlos Giafani with artwork, like I said, by Wando, lettering by Matt Krotzer. Really loved this book. The basic premise is this: a woman invents technology to turn brain patterns into human language. She hooks it up to her cat. She finds out that her cat can astral project out into the universe. So the government, the authorities, whatever you want to call them, they come in, they snatch the cat, they snatch her away, they put them to work for the better good, as it would be, right? Loved it. Fantastic stuff. A great premise, beautiful, elegant artwork, luscious coloring, great masterful lettering, and a great pace to the story. A fantastic, fascinating idea that really had a lot of nuance to it. It had humor, it had action, it had wondrous, fantastic ideas, but the core root of this book was the connection between this cat and her parent, I would say. Fantastic stuff. I am a cat person. I got a cat right down there in a box. It's Creamsicle. I love cats. It's also the cover of the week. This book was fantastic. If you like cats, you're going to love this book. If you like cool fantasy sci-fi, you're going to love this book. If you love Wando's artwork, you're going to love this book. And I'll tell you this right now. Wando wins this new comic book day, because not only is Strayed #1 fantastic, but so is Bad Reception #1, a new book from Aftershock Comics that's written and illustrated by Wando. Fantastic. It's basically about this internet celebrity. She's a singer, all this kind of stuff, right? She's doing this new book, this new promotion where she wants to cut off from the social media grid, and she's having this big, giant wedding, this big celebrity wedding hoopla, right? And she's doing it, and all of her guests have to unplug their phones. They actually have to give up their phones for 24 hours, right? Well, while this wedding happens, there's a murder. So there's a mystery that's involved as well. So you also got beautiful artwork, once again, interesting layouts, great composition from Wando. Wando, writing this book himself, does a fantastic job with it. The way that the story is told is through these double-page spreads, and it just slowly starts revealing things, and it's really interesting. It's very verbose. It's very heavy on the exposition. It's very heavy on the dialogue, but it naturally flows with these beautiful layouts and this great composition, this great storytelling flow that's throughout this book. Bad Reception #1, illustrated by Wando, but also written by Wando. I also believe this may be Doe's first written work. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on that. But Wando wins new comic book day with Strayed #1 from Dark Horse and Bad Reception #1 from Aftershock. That's my pick of the week. That's like my #3, something like that. Let's jump over to Marvel. We got Powers of 10. #3 is out this week. That's right. If you looked at the reading order in the back of the issues, you notice that it wasn't always alternating between House of X and Powers of 10. Sometimes there was back-to-back Powers of 10 issues, and there will be coming up back-to-back House of X issues. Powers of 10, #3 was awesome. It's amazing. It really clarifies a lot of our mystery. If you're not completely caught up on Hickman's X-Men stuff, I'm just going to tell you this right now. It's awesome. It's great. Hickman's sense of story structure, his sense of pace, his sense of panache, his sense of just this great showmanship almost in his writing is fantastic. You add in, who does Powers of 10? It's RB Silva, right? I got to get the name right. I want to make sure I get them kind of mixed up. No, it's Silva. Yeah, RB Silva on the artwork does a fantastic job. This story is going to explain a lot about the ninth life. And if you haven't been reading it, you don't know what I'm talking about. If you have been reading it, you know what I'm talking about. You know there are mysteries involving the sixth life, and there are mysteries involving the ninth life We've been pointing them out over at our Facebook group, PCP Army. If you haven't joined, you totally should. Powers of 10, number 3, totally explains the mystery of the ninth life. Really cool stuff, exciting, and some great apocalypse action. I love it. The X-Men universe is in extremely capable hands with Jonathan Hickman. He has not let me down. We're now, 5 issues into this stuff, and it's blowing me away issue to issue. New ideas, based on old ideas, based on new ideas, reinterpreted, turned around, and thrown out there, and it's all sticking to the walls. Great art, a great mastery of the craft from all involved, especially Hickman and Silva. Just an absolutely fantastic, game-changing, giant superhero event comic book done right. Powers of 10, number 3, out this week. Also, be on the lookout for this sneak peek variant cover. So it's kind of like the same cover, but they're kind of different. You got Rasputin, you got Cardinal, you got Ileana, you got Nightcrawler. So I don't know exactly what the ratios is. Seems like my shop has more of this one, less of this one, but this one's not super rare, but there are 2 of these covers. So be on the lookout for that. Absolute Carnage rolls on through with Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool number 1. Now, y'all know I'm not a Deadpool fan. Really, at all. Totally not, right? I like this book. Now, I am all sold, all just down for anything Absolute Carnage right now. I'm loving what Donny Cates is doing with the Symbiote family of books. Loving what he's doing with Carnage. This book, not super essential whatsoever to the ongoing story of Absolute Carnage, but it is the story of them going after Deadpool. Right now, Carnage and his cult, they're going after everybody who's ever had a symbiote because they leave a little bit of that imprint in their spine, in their DNA, the codex, they would say, right? So they're going after Deadpool, they're going after everybody that has these codices, and this is a really fun book. I'm not a Deadpool fan. If you're a Deadpool fan, you'll like it. I'm not a Deadpool fan, and I still enjoyed it. Frank Thierry does a great job with the script on this one, making it humorous, but not making it like over-the-top annoying like sometimes Deadpool can be. Like I said, not super essential to the ongoing story of Absolute Carnage, but if you're a Deadpool fan, absolutely. And if you're an Absolute Carnage completist like I am, it's not going to let you down. It's just as fun as they've been. Doesn't lean so much into the horror aspect. It's definitely more humor, but it's because it's a Deadpool book. But I actually really liked this one. So Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool number 1 out this week. Ghost Spider number 1 out this week because when sales dip, let's just relaunch Spider-Gwen. Why not? Anyway, there's a reasoning for this rebranding, for this relaunch of Ghost Spider, which is Spider-Gwen, or Gwen Stacy Spider-Woman, whatever you want to call it. This book was actually pretty good. It does continue the story directly left off from the last run, Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider. An interesting title. I think it's better just calling it Ghost Spider, but now Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider is now in the 616. So with this new number 1, if you've never checked it out and you wanted to jump in, if you like Into the Spider-Verse or something like this, you're going to see a lot more interactions of Spider-Gwen with the 616 in this series, and it's really cool. I love the reasoning for it. Her identity has apparently been outed in her own native reality, so she has to go to school in 616 so no one knows who she is. Really like that concept, really like the book. Decent art, a great story though, a great pace to it, great dialogue, and the only reason why I haven't been reading this book is because I read so many books. Ghost Spider, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman, whatever you want to call it, it's been pretty decent from the get-go. This is a continuation of that success of the character. Moving on, Guardians of the Galaxy number 8 by Donny Cates. With Corey Smith on the artwork and David Curiel on covers, this continues the faithless story that promises to have the death of Rocket Raccoon. Now, I am very skeptical about whether or not it's going to contain the death of Rocket Raccoon, but it definitely has some very touching, nuanced moments involving Raccoon, his origins, his past, his relationship to Groot, his relationship to the other Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a really cool mystery going on right here. It's almost like we're preparing for like something big that's on the horizon. It's like Donny Cates is doing all this crazy stuff with Venom, with Absolute Carnage, with Silver Surfer Black, with Guardians of the Galaxy. He's got this Annihilation thing coming up. It's all leading up to one big thing, so if you don't want to be left out, you definitely need to be reading all of the Donny Cates stuff, including Guardians of the Galaxy. Issue number 8 was probably, in my opinion, the best issue of this series yet. Really liked it. Had a great dramatic element to it, great dialogue, a great sense of pace, some scenes that really resonated emotionally exceptionally well. Guardians of the Galaxy number 8 out this week, and that artwork is fantastic. And Rocket fans, You do not want to miss what's going on in those pages. Jane Foster Valkyrie number 2 is here. So issue 1 was a great start to a new series of Jane Foster with new powers. She is now the sole Valkyrie of the 10 realms, if you will, because that's what it is. And she now has these new powers. She has the all-weapon. She's got this sight. She can see death approaching. She sees it approaching towards Heimdall, and then here comes Bullseye. That's how the last issue ended up. This issue continues that thrill, continues that pace, continues that adventure. Great stuff. Beautiful artwork. Highly realistic. Great details, textured, intricate. Really love the artwork here. Really love the story. Really love the characterization. This feels like a classic Marvel comic. It definitely even feels like a classic Marvel comic from the late 90s, which I think is the most underrated time for Marvel. I mean, think about it. You have so much great stuff. Kurt Busiek over on Avengers and Thunderbolts. You got Thor being relaunched with Dan Jurgens. You got Fantastic Four coming back. Chris Claremont's gonna... Anyway, but Valkyrie Jane Foster number 2 really keeps that spirit of Marvelness alive. I absolutely loved it. A great cliffhanger ending from number 1 that gets elaborated on in issue number 2, and yet another cliffhanger ending that has me just begging for more. I'm loving this character. I'm loving this new role for Jane in the Marvel Universe. I love the writing. It's written by Al Ewing and Jason Aaron, and I love the artwork. I love the usage of Bullseye. Bullseye fans, you definitely want to check this out because he's got a god weapon, so be on the lookout for that. Daredevil number 10 is here. So this No Gods, or is it, yeah, No Devil's Only God story. He's been pretty decent. It's been a lot of just talking. A lot of conversations with Daredevil about different people about Daredevil's place in Hell's Kitchen, Daredevil's place in the universe, like man's place in the universe. Some really great, deep conversations that Chip Zdarsky's been having with us through the characters in the Daredevil comic book. This issue is kind of an exception because it's not just a big talky issue. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of stuff going on. And then you got Jorge Fjornez and Jordan Belair jumping on to do the artwork. I was not anticipating this. I did not pay that close of attention to know that Jorge Fjornez was about to get onto a Daredevil issue. And it is just as magnificent as you can imagine. A great sense of composition, a great sense of design. The coloring is spot on. Everything works so well. This is a pitch-perfect issue of Daredevil. Daredevil number 10 with a fantastic cover. Chip Zdarsky's been doing such a great book with Daredevil right now. Issue 10 is no exception. In fact, it's the best issue since the first story arc, in my opinion. Mark Waid and company bring on through History of the Marvel Universe number 2. So History of the Marvel Universe number 1 was a great launch. It was so fantastic. It's a meticulously crafted true history of the Marvel Universe. Everything is fit in the order that it's supposed to be. It has annotations in the back in case you were wondering where the information came from. Mark Waid, Javier Rodriguez, Alvaro Lopez. The artwork is exceptional. The layouts are beautiful. They are masterful. They are powerful, and they feel that way. And when you're telling the history of Marvel, it needs to be powerful. And this is powerful. This could just be something boring, right? This is basically just exposition. This is basically just exposition over really cool artwork. But it works. It works so flawlessly. Waid and company, they really know what they're doing. Rodriguez and Lopez on the artwork. Magnifique. I am in love with History of the Marvel Universe. But I'll tell you this, it's interesting to see what sticks with a sliding timeline and what sticks rooted to its original time. I did not think that the origin of Blade still started so early. Anyway, issue number 2 is going to carry a lot of the 30s, 40s, and 50s of Marvel. Really great stuff. If you're a fan of things like Marvels, it's a can't miss. Absolutely. Let's jump over to DC. Superman Year 1 number 2 is out this week from DC Black Label. This is way better than issue number 1. It's great. If you read issue number 1, it's no surprise. Issue number 2 is Superman in boot camp. But it really elevates parts of the character. It really takes ideas about responsibility, about duty, about how good Clark is, about how much he enjoys what he does, and about what he doesn't enjoy about what he does, really comes into fruition here. There's some Frank Millerisms, there's some missteps here and there. The artwork by John Romita Jr. is fantastic. I was kind of down on the artwork on issue number 1. I thought issue number 1 was okay, it didn't really give us anything new. Issue number 2 gives us a whole new spin on the origin of Superman. Now, they keep saying that this is the origin of the Superman from the Dark Knight Returns universe, so it's not the Superman that we know and love, but it is a version of the Superman that we know and love. That being said, This take on the origin makes sense to me. I like seeing Superman in boot camp. I like seeing him questioning authority. I also like seeing him relishing his advancement in the military. Really like this issue. I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, there are some missteps, but the missteps are not done by the artwork. The artwork, everything about it that I didn't like about issue number 1 was solidified, except for some of those Millerisms that are in there. Anyway, Superman Year 1, he's not disrespecting the character. Frank Miller understands who Superman is, even though he's always kind of given us this government stooge, lackey, goofy version of Superman. He knows what Superman is at the core root of his character, and it does shine in here. I thought it was pretty decent. I actually liked it way more than issue number 1. Now, I had gotten a sneak peek of this, and I was all like, it's not really that good. I only got a sneak peek of the first half of this. Second half's pretty interesting. It's got some neat, fantastical ideas behind it, too. Year of the Villain, a one-shot, Black Mask. Is it essential? No, it's not essential. This is only essential in one aspect. It's written by Tom Taylor. It's got artwork by Cully Hamner. I'm a big fan of Cully Hamner. And I'm really becoming a big fan of Tom Taylor. He's doing exceptional work right now in comics, especially at DC. He's kind of been lingering around right now on the outskirts, doing things like Injustice or Deceased, or over at Marvel, All New Wolverine, things like that, right? Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This Black Mask one-shot, it's interesting. It does, Luthor gives his offer to Black Mask. You find out what it is, what he's got new powers, what he's going to do with them, what his new plan is, how he's, all that stuff. This is set up. This is set up for something. And this is why this, I think, is important. And this is just a call-it-in-the-air type moment. Call it in the air. Tom Taylor's the next Batman writer. Absolutely, right? He's paid his dues over at DC and Marvel. He's ready for a top-tier, big flagship book. Tom King's leaving the title shortly. Tom Taylor's coming on, right? Because this is all set up for what he's wanting to do. At least that's what I'm thinking. Maybe not. It's a decent shift into Black Mask's role. But knowing that Black Mask is the villain of the Birds of Prey movie, played by Ewan McGregor, knowing that movie's coming out at the beginning of next year, knowing that the new writer of Batman will be starting around in January or so, I think Tom Taylor's the next Batman writer. Speaking of Batman, Tom King's still the writer. City of Bane continues on with Batman 77. Loved this issue. Damian fans, you do not want to miss this issue. It's fantastic. Damian steps into the City of Bane, trying to throw down, comes up against Thomas. What goes down, I'm not going to tell you, but it's fantastic. It's fun. Great composition, great lyrical flow to the dialogue. Tom King's, we've said it before, I'll say it again. Tom King's run has been up and down. Overall, I think it's a current moving up, trending upwards. I really do. I like this take on Batman. I like this City of Bane story. It's kind of like a spiritual successor to Nightfall. I like that. I like the way that it's going. It feels a little bit like No Man's Land. No Man's Land was one of my favorite Batman events of all time. Like in 1999, how it felt reading Batman one issue a week for an entire year. That was this crazy escape from Gotham type story, meaning it was kind of reminiscent of Escape from New York, not LA, but New York. Batman 77 kind of keeps that feel alive, but in a distinct Tom King style. You got artwork by Tony Daniel and Mikkel Hanen doing a fantastic job. The Hanen bits are a little bit better. Tony Daniel's bits are good. They're slim. They're not so much in here, but they feel a little bit rushed, but it all works together with the framing, with the structure of the story. I like it. Tom King's going to be a force to be reckoned with. He's still learning. I think Tom King's still on the come up. It seems like he's almost there. He's won Eisners. He's done amazing works. Batman, this is Tom King knowing how to do like a corporate ongoing superhero book. And I don't know. I love this issue. I'm loving City of Bane right now. I think it's going to lead into a fantastic finale for all of what Tom King is doing. Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen #2 is here. Matt Fraction's doing such a killer job on this book. Steve Lieber on the artwork. It's amazing. You got Fairburn on the coloring. I love it. I love the story structure. I love the humor. I love the silliness, but I love the seriousness of this book too. As silly as this book comes across at times, and it should, because it's a Jimmy Olsen book. It's also very serious, and the structure is not something to be played with. You start seeing a little bit more clearly in issue 2 what exactly Fraction and company have in mind. It's interesting. They're telling this big, epic, metropolis-wide story all throughout the history of Metropolis through Jimmy Olsen, and they're doing such a fantastic job. Like I said, it's got great humor, it's got great wordplay in it, it's got a great sense of just flow and pace and just fun bits. And there's a great moment in here with Superman, and you know, I don't spoil things for people, but there's a great moment in here about Superman and hot dogs that I think is just one of the best things anybody's written about Superman since John Byrne. I love Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, absolutely. Aquaman number 51 is here with that cool Middleton variant. I love these Middleton variants on Aquaman. I've been collecting them the whole time, ever since it got relaunched with Rebirth. This story is interesting. It's Aquaman kind of meeting the new Aqua Lad, and he's kind of training him, and it's kind of fun, and it's a little light, and there's not too much to it until you get to the end where they get back to the Black Mana, Year of the Villain tie-in, Luthor offering the Black Mana new technology, new gear, a new way to go at Aquaman, and I'm so excited for what's to come. I think Kelly Sue DeConnick's been doing such a great job on Aquaman. This issue was a little light, it's a little okay. I love the idea of this Aqualad being reintroduced in again. I love this character. I think Jackson's going to be fantastic. I love the connection to Black Mana there. It is Jackson, right? Or is that just Brightest Day? Anyway, I'm pretty sure it's the same Aqualad from Brightest Day. The ending of this book was so strong, so solid, and so interesting. I really like it. I'm an Aquaman fan. This is the most excited I've been for Aquaman since Jeff Johns, to be honest with you. Speaking of DC, we got a facsimile edition of Batman and Robin the Teen Wonder. That's right, Batman 232. This reprints the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul. Marvel's having success with these facsimile editions, so no matter what Dan DiDio wants to say, DC's going to jump in on the game, and you got a first appearance of Ra's al Ghul facsimile edition. If you've never read this, it's Denny O'Neil, it's Neil Adams, it's got some of the original ads in it, and it's worth it. If you've never read this classic stuff, here's an opportunity to get it and enjoy it. It's fantastic stuff. From Image Comics, we got a new one, Pretty Violent. Pretty Violent number 1. If you're a big fan of Scotty Young, if you're a big fan of his goofy, silly stuff like I Hate Fairyland, this is basically I Hate Fairyland for superheroes in a way. It's not Scotty Young. It's done by Derek Hunter and Jason Young. Now, Derek Hunter was he was behind Adventure Time in some way, and he kind of came up with this idea while he was working on that series. Pretty Violent's interesting. It's all right. It's fun. It's silly. It's irreverent. It's got lots of language. It's got foul language. Lots of foul language. It's got lots of excessive, over-the-top violence. It's interesting. The hook at the end really does hook you back in. Something that seems very disposable at first as you're reading it really kind of hooks you in at the end when you get the whole idea about what's going on in the story. If you like I Hate Fairyland, you're going to love this book. If you like that silly, irreverent, over-the-top, goofball, cartoony, it's like cartoon violence with foul language, subversive. I don't know. It's all right. I thought it was all right. Like, seriously, like, this was going to be a book that I was like, it's all right, y'all. It's okay for a certain audience. But seriously, at the end, the creators, Hunter, Young, and company, they really kind of hooked me in and wanted to see how this story is going to unfold. That's out new from Image this week. Middlewest is here with issue number 10. This is the best issue of Middlewest yet. This is like number 2 pick of the week. This book is amazing. This is Scotty Young, the real Scotty Young. His absolute best work, in my opinion, to date is this. Jorge Corona on the artwork, Jean-Francois Beaulieu on the coloring. I love it. Great composition, great sense of pace, all that cool stuff that you want to say about the artwork in a comic book, but this really starts tying everything together. Really gets into the idea of the cyclical nature of violence, of anger, of what you learn from your parents, nature versus nurture, and things like that. This all the themes that have been prevalent in Middlewest so far, really all kind of come to a pitch right here in Middlewest number 10, and it really elevates the series up into a new territory, into a new direction. And I really, really like it. I like it so much. Middlewest number 10 was fantastic. I cannot tout the awesomeness of this book enough. If you're not reading it, you totally should. Criminal is out with number 7 out this week. I have not read any of the Criminal stuff that's come before. And Sean Phillips, Ed Brubaker, they've been at this Criminal game for a while. I have not read any of that stuff. I have enjoyed every single issue of Criminal so far in this new launch, and I have not felt lost. I have been engaged. I have been enthralled. Beautiful artwork, great film noir style, a great hard-boiled style of writing. If you like crime fiction, this is your game right here. It's Criminal. Criminal number 7 is great and fantastic. It takes what's been going on, and it adds a new perspective to it, and it does it so elegantly. It does it so fantastically well. Criminal number 7, a tour de force in crime fiction in comic books. I don't think it gets better than Brubaker and Phillips. I really don't. Really don't. From IDW, we got Canto number 3 already. This book's just plowing on through. I'm loving it. It's like Wizard of Oz meets Dante's Inferno. It's pure distilled story. It's like the myth of story. It's right here, all laid out perfectly for you. It follows that hero's journey pretty much to the letter. It's got beautiful artwork by Drew Zucker and Vittorio Astoni. A great script by David Boer. I'm loving this book so much. I love the artwork. I love the story. It's raw, pure story. It's distilled story injected straight into your veins and soul and heart, and it works so well. Like I said, it's a little bit like Dante's Inferno meets The Wizard of Oz. It's a great story. It's a great fairy tale. It's engaging. It's interesting. It just keeps me captivated and wanting to come back for more. This book is powerful. Canto number 3, out this week from IDW. We, from Aftershock, have Killer Groove number 4. Now, Killer Groove number 4 is a great turning point in this series. This series has been great, and it's had all these characters run around. It's basically about the 70s music scene in LA and the 70s assassin scene in LA. It's about this dude who's down on his luck. You know, the hippie generation, they've died out, that dream's gone. Where do we go from here? This dude's trying to make it in the music industry. It's not working. Then he winds up killing the dude, and then he writes a hit song. Then he kills another dude, and he writes another hit song. So now he's kind of like addicted to killing people for hits. And as they say in the book, a hit for a hit, right? But all these different characters, all these different plot lines, they all collide here in issue number 4, and it gets really, really intriguing. It's written by Ollie Masters, who is the writer of The Kitchen, the Vertigo comic book that was just recently turned into a movie. And it's got artwork by Owen Marin, and it's fantastic. I love the artwork. It's great. It's gritty. It's of the time. It's exactly what it needs to be. You add in Jordi Belair on the coloring. It really adds that tone, that atmosphere. And then you got Hassan Hotzman El Hal, one of the best letterers working in the business today. Killer Groove number 4, an exceptional crux for this series. I'm loving it. Dead End Kids number 2 is out this week from Source Point Press. If you were lucky enough to get a copy of issue number 1, issue 2 is out this week, but if you want to check it out, good luck finding it. This book has been heating up. Copies are going up like crazy for issue number 1. There is a second print coming. Issue number 2, the demand is far going to exceed the supply, so you're not going to really be able to find this too much out there in the wild if you do snatch onto it. Dead End Kids is interesting. It's a 3-issue miniseries. It's kind of like The Stand set in 1999. I really like this story. It's a great murder mystery. I like the references to the 90s. Like I said, grew up in the 90s. I graduated high school in 99. I dressed just like the douchebag in Dead End Kids, which is just like Fred Durst. Anyway, Dead End Kids number 2, it's interesting. It's okay. It doesn't kind of quite keep the pace and momentum of the first issue. It does slow up a little bit. It's got some technical issues in my opinion. It's got some issues with tying the themes together with some of the coloring. The coloring gets jarring at times, going from scene to scene. The flashbacks get jarring a little bit from scene to scene. But Dead End Kids is a hit. It's big. It's coming. There's only 1 issue left. So by the time issue 3 comes out, like, you're not going to be able to find a copy. But second printings are coming. There'll be a graphic novel. But it's an interesting story. I like it. If you're a big fan of Stand By Me, if you really like nostalgia trips back into the late 90s like I do, Dead End Kids is a cool murder mystery right for you. From Scout Comics this week, we got Category 0, number 4. From my homie, Adem Kemel. I absolutely love this cat's writing. I really like this book. I really like it a lot. I did an advanced review of issue number 1, and straight up, I was thinking about this when I read this today. If you look at what Category 0 issue number 1 was, and then you look at what issue number 4 is, whoa, nobody saw this coming. This story has grown. It's evolved. The world of this story has gotten larger, and Kamel has done it very efficiently, done it fantastically. You got Don Lima, Derek Dow rounding out that creative team, doing a great job. This is an interesting story. It's about It's about a world where 1% of the population may, wind up with superpowers. And how does the rest of the world respond to that? It's a great book that says a lot. It's relevant. I really like the themes. I really like the characters. And like I said, where this book has gone from issue number 1 is exceptional. The world, the way this has flourished out into such a big book like it is right now. Category 0, number 4, fantastic. From Source Point Press, we have Hope number 3. So Hope number 1 came on Free Comic Book Day. Then issue 2 launched last month. Issue 3 is great. It's basically about a woman who's a superhero. In this world, they call them Ultras. If you're an Ultra, you have to register. You have to let them know, I am a superhero. And I'm either going to register and fight with y'all for you, or I'm going to do my own thing. Well, Hope is the story about someone who decided just to do their own thing without the bother of registering whatsoever. Then she gets outed in the public, and it just completely destroys her family. And this is about her picking up the pieces, and where do we go from here? Hope has been great. I really like it. The artwork is really simple. It's cartoony, but it works. It's effective. The dialogue and the characterization carry this book through very strongly, I might add. Hope number 3 kept me hopeful for the future of this book. I actually really like that one. Hellboy and the BPRD Saturn Returns number 1, starting a new miniseries. It's not quite part of the Hellboy and the BPRD 1950s, whatever kind of thing. At first I thought it was, but it's not. It's set in the 70s. It's interesting. It's cool little like mystery, like murder mystery almost in a way. Neat little Hellboy mystery with a little bit of a possible occult and supernatural tinge, but it doesn't hit you as hard as some of the best Hellboy stories out there. This isn't going to convince you to become a Hellboy fan. That I would definitely say, check out Seed of Destruction. And if you want to know what I fully think about Hellboy, be here on this channel on Halloween. Comics Revisited. Hellboy. Are you excited? Because I'm excited. The Avant-Gardes number 7 from Boombox. That's right, Boom Studios, their Boombox imprint. This book is absolutely fantastic. Carly Usden, Noah Hayes, Eleonora Bruni, Ed Dukeshire. This book is amazing. It's about an all-girls college or an all-girls school, and it's an art school, and they want to have a basketball team, and they have to fight, and they go through this tremendous struggle to get there. Now they're there. Dudes, we just did a sports movies podcast over at PCP, and we had so much fun revisiting these sports movies and talking about what makes a great sports movie, what makes a great sports comic. I don't know necessarily, probably the same stuff that makes a great sports movie, but it's all there in Avant-Gardes. This book is fantastic. It's a 12-issue series. The structure is great. The pacing is perfect. Each issue has its own tone, its own theme, but it all is part of the collective whole. Usden, Hayes, and company are doing such an amazing job on this book. I'm enthralled by the characters. I'm in love with the characters. They're charming. They're enticing. Everything about this book just makes me so happy when I read it. This is a pure comic book distillation of all the best sports movies out there. Fantastic stuff. If you're a basketball fan, if you're a sports movies fan, if you're a great indie comic book fan, you need to be reading Avant-Gardes. Absolutely. Livewire number 9 starts a new series here. Not a new series, but a new story arc, I should say. Over at Valiant Comics, Vita Ayala doing the writing. I love their writing on this book. I think it's great. I think it's relevant. I think it's talking about some social commentary that's very important to talk about. The artwork has been flawless in this book. This issue, the artwork gets a little cluttery. It gets a little muddled, just a little bit, but the layouts, the composition, the innovation, it's still there. I love the story. This new story didn't quite hit me as hard on the first chapter as the previous 2 did, but I'm really loving what Ayala's doing with this title so far with this character, and I'm sold, and I'm in it for the duration. Livewire number 9. Out this week from American Gothic Press, we have Monster World, The Golden Age number 2. Now, when issue number 1 of this came out, I loved it. I put it in my top 5, top 10, or whatever of the week. I really liked it. I recommended it for anybody that was a fan of the Mignola stuff, or the Goon, stuff like that. There's a new issue of the Goon out this week, too. But Monster World, The Golden Age number 2, I was so lost. I was so lost. Now, this is all on me. I read so many comics, and this one, like, I started reading it, I was like, I do not remember what had happened in this book. I thought issue number 2 seemed so different to me than issue number 1. But in the middle of this book, I started realizing, oh, that's what it was about. So it's kind of about the importance of story. It's got some cool occult type stuff in it. This one has a cool meaning and explanation, or a revision, or a new take on the Superman origin story, that kind of thing. But Monster World, The Golden Age number 2 didn't quite hit me as hard as issue number 1 did. But that might be my fault. I don't know. I don't know. But if a book's not memorable, there you go. And finally, let's talk about this. Test number 1, a second printing is out this week. That cover right there by Jen Hickman, that's some of their best work. I love that cover. I think it's stronger than the cover for the first print of issue number 1. Absolutely love it. If you haven't read Test, this book is dense. It's crazy. It's out there. It's futuristic. It's super sci-fi. It's great. Vault Comics, Test. There you go. Christopher Sabella, Jen Hickman, Harry Saxon, and Hassan Otsman El-Hal. A fantastic creative team, a fantastic book. If you missed out on Test number 1, second printing out this week. And plus, you know, even if you didn't miss out on it, look at that cover. Look at that cover. I ever meet Hickman, they're signing this one. I'll get them to sign every one of them. That's what I read this week. That's what I thought about it. What did you read this week? What did you think about it? What are you excited for? What are you reading? What just fills you with passion in comic books right now in the industry? Let me know in the comments down below, and let's keep this conversation going. And join us this upcoming Sunday night, 7 o'clock U.S. Central Time p.m., where we have Rockin Robbie live. That's right, every Sunday night I chat live about comic books, movies, pop culture. We have a nice conversation, spoiler-free for the most part. We have like a 1 to 2 week kind of variable there on spoilers. Anyway, lots of fun chatting about comics with y'all live every Sunday night here on the channel. Please do like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading.